The steady beeping of heart monitors used to drive me crazy. Now it's almost comforting. A reminder that I survived, that I'm still here, despite everything my family did, or rather didn't do. My name is Alexandra Martinez, though these days most people call me Dr. Martinez. I'm a neurosurgeon at Boston Memorial Hospital, specializing in spinal trauma. It's not just my job, it's my calling. One I discovered in the hardest way possible. Dr. Martinez, they need you in trauma too. I glanced up from my paperwork to see Lisa, one of our most experienced nurses, in my doorway. Her expression told me everything I needed to know. Spinal injury, probably severe. What do we have? I asked, already moving. 23-year-old female, car accident, presenting with potential C4-C5 fracture. Parents are in the waiting room. Parents in the waiting room. That detail shouldn't have made my stomach clench, but it did. Memories of my own parents in a different waiting room, 5 years ago, came flooding back. 5 years earlier. What do you mean you can't pay for it? My mother's voice echoed through the hospital room. You have insurance. I tried to explain again, my voice weak from the breathing tube they'd just removed. The insurance company denied the claim. They're saying the rock climbing accident was high-risk activity, not covered under my basic plan. Well, that's your own fault. Dad burst out. Who goes rock climbing anyway? What were you thinking? What was I thinking? I was thinking that at 28, with a newly minted medical degree and the start of my neurosurgery residency ahead of me, I deserved one last adventure before 6 years of grueling training. I was thinking that I checked all my equipment, followed all safety protocols. I couldn't have known about the faulty anchor bolt that would send me plummeting 30 feet onto the unforgiving granite below. The surgery cost $287,000, I said quietly. Without it, I might never walk again. Never perform surgery. Everything I've worked for. That's more than our house is worth. Mom threw up her hands. We can't help you. We'd already spent everything putting you through medical school. I paid for medical school myself, I reminded her. With scholarships and loans. Loans I'm still paying off. But they weren't listening. They never did when it contradicted their version of reality. The one where they'd sacrificed everything for their children. Where any success we had was because of them, any failure our own fault. What about Michael? I asked, referring to my older brother. He just got that big bonus. Don't you dare ask your brother for money, Mom snapped. He has 3 kids to think about, a mortgage, private school tuition. And I have a spinal cord that's about to be permanently damaged without surgery. The outburst cost me. Pain shot through my broken vertebrae, making me gasp. The monitors started beeping faster. Look what you made her do, Mom hissed at Dad. Getting her all worked up. They left soon after, promising to think about it and make some calls. But I knew, I saw it in their faces. They weren't going to help. My brother Michael came by the next day, full of apologetic excuses. You know I would if I could, Lex. But with the kids' college funds, the new beach house. I closed my eyes, not wanting him to see the tears. Michael had been my hero growing up. The big brother who taught me to ride a bike, who defended me from bullies. Now he couldn't even look me in the eye as he chose his beach house over my ability to walk. My younger sister Carmen didn't even visit, sent a text saying she was too busy with wedding planning to make the trip from New York. As if her centerpiece choices were more important than her sister's spine. The next few days passed in a blur of pain, fear, and increasingly desperate phone calls. The hospital wanted payment arranged before they'd schedule the surgery. Every hour that passed risked permanent nerve damage. Then Dr. Catherine Chen walked into my room. She was head of neurosurgery, a legend in the field. I'd been accepted into her residency program, supposed to start in 2 months. Now that dream seemed as broken as my spine. I've reviewed your case, Dr. Martinez, she said, pulling up a chair. Her presence filled the room, commanding yet compassionate. Excellent academic record. Outstanding USNLE scores. Multiple publications as a medical student. And now this. I'm sorry, I whispered. I know I'll have to withdraw from the program. Why would you do that? I blinked at her. The surgery. I can't afford it. Without it, I can't. The surgery will happen tomorrow morning, she cut me off. I'll be performing it myself. But? The hospital has a special fund for medical professionals, she explained. combined with a payment plan you can manage on a resident's salary, will make it work. She leaned forward. I don't give up on talented surgeons, Dr. Martinez, and neither should you. I started crying then, really crying, for the first time since the accident. Not from pain or fear, but from the simple fact that this woman who barely knew me was willing to help when my own family wouldn't. The surgery was successful. Dr. Chen's skill, combined with my youth and determination, meant I was back on my feet within months. My residency was delayed by a year, but I made it through. Every grueling 30-hour shift, every complex procedure, every small victory and devastating loss. It all made me the surgeon I am today. I paid back every cent of that surgery and then some. Set up my own fund for medical professionals in crisis. Became known for taking on charity cases, especially spinal trauma patients who reminded me of myself. My family, they got exactly what they wanted, distance from my problems. I hadn't spoken to any of them since I left the hospital, blocked their numbers, moved across the city, built a new life. Last I heard, Michael's beach house was lovely. Carmen's wedding was featured in some bridal magazine. Mom and Dad took luxury cruises every winter. But life has a way of coming full circle. Dr. Martinez? Lisa's voice pulled me back to the present. The patient. Right. I straightened my white coat. Let's go save another spine. Hours later, after successfully stabilizing my young patient's cervical fracture, I was finally heading home when my office phone rang. Few people had that number, and most of them were in the hospital. Dr. Martinez speaking. Alexandra. The voice was hesitant, familiar in a way that made my blood run cold. It's your mother. I sat down hard. How did you get this number? Your old residency program. I told them it was a family emergency. She paused. It is an emergency, Alexandra. Your father, he had a heart attack. The words hung in the air. 5 years of silence, broken by a medical crisis. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'm sorry to hear that, I said carefully, but I'm sure the cardiac unit at whatever hospital he's in is perfectly capable. He needs bypass surgery, she interrupted. Complex bypass surgery. Our insurance. There's a problem with the coverage. Her voice cracked. We need your help, Alexandra. Please. I looked at my desk calendar, at the date circled in red. Tomorrow evening was the hospital board meeting where I'd be officially inducted as the youngest board member in Boston Memorial's history. Dr. Chen was retiring, passing the torch of department head to me. Alexandra, are you there? Yes, I said quietly. I'm here. And I was. Just not in the way she expected. The waiting room at Mass General looked exactly like I remembered. Uncomfortable chairs, outdated magazines, that peculiar hospital smell of antiseptic and anxiety. My mother sat alone in the corner, her designer handbag clutched tight against her chest. She aged in 5 years, though her highlighted hair and expensive clothes tried to hide it. She jumped up when she saw me. Alexandra, you came. I stayed just out of hugging range. I'm here as a medical professional, Mom. Nothing more. Her face fell slightly, but she nodded. Of course, your father's in room 412. Walking into Dad's hospital room was surreal. The man who'd always seemed larger than life lay pale and diminished, surrounded by beeping monitors. Various tubes snaked from his body. IV lines, oxygen, cardiac monitoring leads. His eyes widened when he saw me. Lexi? Nobody had called me that in 5 years. I pulled out my phone, opened my medical notes app. I'll need to review your case, Mr. Martinez. When did the symptoms start? The formal tone made him flinch. Good. 3 days ago, he said quietly. Chest pain, shortness of breath. I thought it was just stress. The stress of what? I kept my voice clinical. Managing your rental properties, planning your next cruise. Alexandra, Mom interrupted. Please, the doctors say he needs triple bypass surgery. The insurance company is giving us problems because your father, she hesitated. Because I skipped some premium payments, Dad admitted. Business has been slow, and with the economy. How much is the surgery? $315,000. Mom whispered. We don't have that kind of money. Not anymore. The number hit me like a physical blow. Almost exactly what my spinal surgery had cost. The surgery they'd refused to help with. I see. I made some notes on my phone. And what are your assets? The beach house Michael's always posting photos from. We had to sell it last year, Dad said. The rental market crashed during COVID. We've been living off our savings, but the cruises, Mom's designer wardrobe, appearances, Mom admitted. We had to keep up appearances for the business. I looked at their faces, really looked at them. Saw past the expensive clothes and carefully maintained facades to the fear beneath. The same fear I'd felt lying in my hospital bed 5 years ago. I'll make some calls, I said finally. Wait here. In the hallway, I pulled out my phone again. Not for calls, I already knew what I was going to do. Instead, I looked at photos from 5 years ago. Me in my hospital bed, brave smile hiding my terror. Dr. Chen standing beside me at my residency graduation, both of us beaming. The first spinal surgery I performed independently. I'd made it without them, become someone I was proud to be. The question was, what kind of person did I want to be now? 20 minutes later, I returned to the room. My parents looked up hopefully. I've arranged for your father's transfer to Boston Memorial, I announced. The surgery will be performed by Dr. William Hayes, one of our top cardiothoracic surgeons. But how can we afford? Mom started. There's a program. I cut her off. For patients experiencing financial hardship, combined with a reasonable payment plan, it should cover everything. Dad's eyes filled with tears. Alexandra, thank you. We don't deserve. You're right, you don't. My voice was steel. But that's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing it because 5 years ago, someone showed me what real compassion looks like. What it means to help people not because they deserve it, but because you can. I pulled out some paperwork. However, there are conditions. First, you'll meet with our financial counselor. No more skipping insurance payments, no more living beyond your means. Second, you'll both volunteer in our hospital's family support program. Help other families facing medical crisis. They nodded frantically. And third, I met their eyes. You'll attend a little ceremony tomorrow night, my induction to the hospital board. I think it's time you saw exactly what your daughter has become, without your help. The next evening, I stood at the podium in Boston Memorial's main conference room. The place was packed, hospital staff, board members, donors. My parents sat in the back row, looking uncomfortable in their seats. 5 years ago, I lay in a hospital bed not far from here. A broken spine, no way to pay for surgery, and a family who walked away. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. In the back, my parents shifted uneasily. But one person didn't walk away. Dr. Catherine Chen saw past my broken body to my potential. She didn't just save my spine, she saved my future. Dr. Chen, sitting in the front row, smiled warmly. Today, I'm honored to join this hospital's board. But more than that, I'm honored to continue Dr. Chen's legacy. Our new expanded financial assistance program will help more patients access life-saving care. Our family support services will ensure no one faces a medical crisis alone. I paused, looking directly at my parents. Because that's what this hospital taught me, that true healing isn't just about fixing bodies. It's about helping people when they're at their most vulnerable. About showing compassion not because people deserve it, but because it's the right thing to do. After the ceremony, my parents approached hesitantly. Mom was crying. We were wrong, she said simply. So wrong. About everything. Yes, you were. I handed them a tissue. Dad's surgery is scheduled for next week. Dr. Hayes is excellent. You're in good hands. Alexandra, Dad spoke up. Could we, maybe, have dinner sometime? After I recover, try to? Start over? I finished. No, we can't start over. Too much has happened. Their faces fell, but I continued. But maybe we can start something new, something better. Dad's surgery was successful. During his recovery, my parents threw themselves into the volunteer program. Mom turned out to have a gift for comforting worried families. Dad used his business experience to help patients navigate insurance paperwork. Slowly, carefully, we rebuilt our relationship. Not the old one based on obligation and appearances, but something new founded on mutual respect and understanding. Michael called when he heard about Dad's surgery, wanted to reconnect. I told him I was busy, had a spine to fix. Carmen sent a wedding anniversary invitation. I sent back a donation to the hospital's patient care fund in her name. Some bridges stay burned. Some heal stronger than before. The trick is knowing which is which. Last week, a young resident came to my office. She'd been injured in a skiing accident, needed surgery, couldn't afford it. As I looked at her scared face, I saw myself 5 years ago, and I knew exactly what to do. Let me tell you about a special program we have. I began reaching for the paperwork, and about how sometimes the worst moments in our lives lead us exactly where we need to be. The heart monitors still beep in the hospital corridors, but now they sound different to me. They sound like second chances, like karma, like healing, not just bodies, but souls. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting better. About becoming someone who can break the cycle of hurt. Someone who can turn pain into purpose. That's what I learned from my broken spine, from Dr. Chen, from every patient I've helped since. And maybe, just maybe, that's what my parents are finally learning too. The other day, I overheard Mom talking to a worried family in the waiting room. Their daughter needed surgery they couldn't afford. Mom held their hands, tears in her eyes. "Let me tell you about my daughter," she said, "and about how this hospital saved not just her spine, but our souls." I walked away quietly, smiling. Some lessons come late, but they come. Some healing takes time, but it happens. And sometimes, the longest journey isn't from broken to healed, but from lost to found. I found myself in this hospital, found my purpose, my strength, my truth. Now, every time I walk these halls in my white coat, every time I fix another broken spine or help another desperate family, I remember what Dr. Chen taught me, that true healing is about more than medicine. It's about courage, compassion, and sometimes forgiveness. Not because people deserve it, but because that's who we choose to be. That's who I choose to be. Dr. Alexandra Martinez, neurosurgeon, healer, daughter. Not broken, but rebuilt. Not bitter, but better. And every day, getting stronger.